So the opioid pendulum probably has been swinging back and forth for thousands of years, really, in terms of if you look at how incredibly polarized the thought about opioids has been at various points in time, from, they are a gift from God to they are the devil personified. And whenever I speak on it, I've started virtually every talk for 30 years showing a pendulum, where one end of the pendulum is opiophobia, the other end is opiophilia, and somewhere in the middle is something approaching some kind of a balance. And when I talk about the balance, and I've been talking about this for years, and I talk about applying the principles of addiction medicine as appropriate to the individual patient and all of that kind of thing. But additionally, I've always cited Doug Gourley and his quote that if people are going to prescribe controlled substances for any purposes, anxiety, pain, sleep, you name it, that they also have to be, in his words, talented amateurs in addiction medicine. Meaning to say they would know enough addiction medicine that they'd be able to do a risk assessment, like do the risks of an opioid exposure compare favorably to the benefits that are likely to accrue. Do they know enough about techniques to control the risk that exists? Do they know enough about how to recognize the warning signs that things are going badly and intervene? And importantly also, do they know how to stop the therapy in a humane way? But the other two poles are rather extreme, and I think we went to opiophilia, increased opioid prescribing 400% and 500%. That whole story was the corporate greed story. The downplaying of the risks, the overstating of the benefits, the aggressive marketing, all of which is true, and it's a facet of the story. It's not the whole story, though. It's more than enough greed to go around. There were greedy pill mill running professionals who were greedy, little more than drug dealers, basically trading drugs for profit. There were greedy, quote-unquote, patients who sold their medicine. There was importantly, there was insurance company greed, I believe. The negative impact of payer policies in creating and sustaining the opioid epidemic, but also that basically we quintupled opioid prescribing in a healthcare system that was not ready to handle it. Ironically enough, a lot of the tools that we need are now all around, and it could be one of the safer times to prescribe an opioid if you had the reimbursement, time, and training to use them all now. That's an irony, because now we've basically decided that opioids are too risky and that no benefits accrue from the exposures. That it's been sort of really insidious, the undermining of the idea that anybody benefits. A well-known pain doctor who tells me how horrible he feels. He's taking stable people off their medicine, working, stable, law-abiding citizens for 10 years, never late, never on their scripts, etc., taking them off. So, as per usual, we have now swung the pendulum way too far towards opiophobia, and we're back to a time. I have people I know who showed up in emergency rooms, people in their 60s with broken limbs and didn't get opioid, or even have a discussion about pain. I mean, where are we headed with this? And it reminds me of a quote that I used to like to talk about a lot at the beginning of my talks. 1946, in an editorial in JAMA, the president of the AMA wrote an editorial that basically said, he was bemoaning the growing use of injectable morphine in the treatment of pain in the terminally ill cancer patient. He said, spare your terminally ill cancer patients the indignity of morphine addiction. And these patients were chasing their pain, chasing withdrawal, and just absolutely miserable. But to the eye that thinks that the evil lies in the drug itself, that looks like the indignity of morphine addiction, not the indignity of terribly treated pain at the end of life. And so that's where we are. We're in, I think, one of the grimmest periods of opiophobia in forever.